So in general on Fridays I like to talk about chords. John Cordy is the name. Feel free to leave a like and a comment if this was at all helpful, but let's just get straight into it. When I was starting on guitar, I imagine I started with the same sorts of things as you, where you have these chords which kind of sound like this, or this, or this. And I quickly got to thinking that that is not my favourite sound, right? First of all, you've got this kind of clumpy thing at the bottom. So on piano, generally, when you're learning piano or playing piano, you tend not to put thirds close in the bass because it just, you get that kind of beating sound. It's like two voices too close together, low down. So in the left hand of a piano, you'd probably either do an octave or an octave and a fifth. And for that reason, you know, there's a few little bits and pieces that I want to show you about how I might play something on acoustic guitar, which I think might be helpful to singer-songwriters or people that are trying to sound a little bit less beginnerish on the acoustic. Right, so I'm going to play a progression the simple way in G major. And these are the sorts of chords that you see in chord books. So what we got going on there, we're going from the 1 to the G, the root, to the 6th, the E minor, to the C, the 4th, to the D major, which is the 5th. So this is a sort of thing you've probably heard done a million times, but maybe you didn't or did know what was going on. So instead of this for the G, I personally would always favour something like this, which to me is a much more open sound, like a brighter sound. So the main difference, what I've got going on, I play the 3rd fret and the 3rd fret on the B and G string, so you get a D and a G, so the 5th and the root. And then I don't play anything on the A string, so what I'm doing is using the fleshy part of this finger to mute that string. And so when I play, it's a different sound of G major. To me, a bit more open. Or you could let go of that D here and you get the full G major with the 3rd. So this is like a G major without a 3rd. And to me it just has a bit more of a classy sound and sounds a bit less beginnerish than. So another thing I might add to that might be this A here on the 3rd fret on the G string, so you could try this kind of thing. Now, the next thing, we got this E minor, right? So that is one of the very first chords that I learned. And I think it has a sound, but again, you've got just some things where it's not necessarily the prettiest sounding things. So for me, what I like to do in a progression like this would be to try and keep some notes held so that you don't have big jumps between chords. So here, for my E minor, I might play this instead of, I would play so what we've got going on there, we're moving from the G and then our bass note goes down to E and we play a B here. There's a D open there, but I might close that. And for me, that just sounds a little bit more cohesive because you're moving between chords that have more notes shared, right? So when I'm playing on piano, for instance, I might keep every note in this right hand the same and just move the bass. It's that kind of idea where okay, so that's our chord there. So we've got an E, a B, an E, a D up here, a G here, and a G. Okay, and then I showed you this C for our chord 4, right? So that's the one that you see in books or this kind of thing, right? Same idea. I really like the sound of this chord. I don't know if you do too. So for that, I'm playing a C here on the 3rd fret on the A string, an E, the 3rd here on the 2nd fret on the D string, a G open, and D in the top, which is our 9 there. So this is like a C major 9, and a G in top, or C major add 9. I just really like the sound of that, so we could go between G which to me just sounds a lot more like what I might hear on a record than to me that just sounds instantly to me more kind of polished, a bit prettier. So what we got this G, this E minor 7, this C add 9, and this D. So instead of this, or I really like the sound of a D sus. So we got a D here, the open D, the A, another D, and in the top, instead of an F sharp, we've got a G. And you notice again, you're sharing these 2 notes here across all of those chords. Just to me sounds a lot more polished than So that's 4 kind of things that I really like to do with an acoustic guitar. I'm going to put up on Patreon the backing track, as well as putting up some of the chords and tab for that. So those are just instant replacements for if you're playing a song in G and you think, right, I don't want to play these basic chords so much. Equally, if you have a G in D major, that one works really well. So anytime I see a G, I basically play that. Or the other thing that I quickly found out when I was, starting with an acoustic guitar was the sound of E major and being able to slide these things around and notice that it kind of sounded pretty cool. So here's my favorite kind of trick in E major. So we're going to take that same progression, so it's 1, 6, 4, 5, right? And here's how I might play it in E major. And here's how, I don't know, something more beginnery might sound. So instead you get so you'll notice what we've got here is like the power chord type thing. We call it this because it doesn't have the 3rd in it. So I'm playing the 7th fret for the E, I've got a B on the 9th fret on the D string, and then another E on the G string on the 9th fret. And that's my shape, I'm just moving that. So I'm looking for the bass note to change. So E to C sharp for the 6, to A for the 4, and B for the 5th. So we get this. Just just moving the whole shape. Okay, and basically you can leave this B and this E open and this E open, and we get the same kind of effect as we did for G. We've got these two notes working as like a pedal or something that glues the whole progression together. Then in E. Another thing I like to do is play that E and that C sharp like that. And I really like this voicing for A. So we got an A here, and then we got, I think, a C sharp here, and then we got, on the 11th fret that is, and then we got a G sharp up here on the 13th fret on the G. And you can move this around. So I used to do this all the time, I think I still do. So that's just, I think, a couple of ways that you can play in E major and G major and make it sound a little bit more classy and a little bit maybe less beginnerish. So instead of using this kind of chord, I would use this and try and keep some of the notes the same. You can experiment. And, you know, just hold that note the same and experiment with different bass notes. You'll find that basically it's pretty safe. You can get away with quite a lot. And then E major, instead of this kind of thing being super bar chord heavy, I would aim for this kind of thing where you're using the open strings and the idiosyncrasies of E major on an acoustic guitar. Just a really nice way to you know, use these movable kind of chords, which are kind of easy to visualize because you're just viewing the bass note. And you can get quite a rich sound out of those, especially, you know, these things work quite well finger picked as well. Just ask Enrique. Right, anyway, hopefully that was vaguely useful. Leave a comment below if you want more of this kind of acoustic guitar based stuff. I think that's a way to quite quickly, without loads of theory, get away from this sound and closer to a more rich sound, maybe. Catch you in another video soon. Leave a comment, like and subscribe. All of that stuff. I don't know if this video is going to do particularly well, but if you leave a comment, the chances are it will do slightly better than if you didn't. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Cheers. I'm going to now put together the sheet for Patreon, as well as put together an intro, kind of mixing these things up a bit. Cheers.